Who cares what I end up playing? Let's talk. So, the whole idea of having credit card debt forever or for an extreme amount of time, and if you do the math, you end up paying like a very large amount compared to what you would actually spend for the thing. So, if you're smart, you never use the card for more than what you can actually pay before it fully gets done, and then you never have interest on that payment. It all just happens, and you absolutely can just go about your day. In fact, you could probably get rewards. But let's say you took out some money and you had to pay a certain amount. It was large, and you did that somehow, and you end up with debt that's bigger than what you classically would be able to pay. Clearly, you have to be able to have some way to pay that off. Well, it's not easy to do that. So, how do you do it? Clearly, what should happen instead is you gotta be able to pay off the card, and then if you've given them a certain amount of money, multiple to whatever you owed, right? Then you clearly have paid it off, and you do not have to keep on paying. Cards are gouging for all the different amounts, but other companies, clearly smarter companies, are able to somehow get a very much smaller, and this is probably a business by association, they might all work together to force you to pay a minimum of maybe 40%. And then, well, there you have it. You've paid 40%. So you're not stuck with the entire large percentage. That can totally happen if you're not careful. You can absolutely end up just paying a lot less. So the current difference seems to be paying 300% for whatever debt plus, or simply go to a different company and only pay 45% for that year. And if you pay it all off, then you're absolutely in the clear, and you don't have to continuously pay for those debts. It's ridiculous. So, in comparison, for $5,000, or yeah, for $1,000, that's an extra 45 or 4,400. Sorry, that is $450 off the top. You must pay that, but also what you're not paying is you're not paying the massive amount. So it's a thing that's like you could absolutely just pay it the one time and then you never have to pay it again. Smart people obviously just have the amount of debt that they owe and then they don't pay again because they only have the amount of debt that they properly can afford, so they don't have to pay it again. They just never do because they never go beyond what they can handle. So if you have grocery bills or whatever else, you pay with the card and then you don't have to pay again because you clearly would just pay with what you have and then you then get the cash back as well as get to immediately pay off what you owe. It's a simple system. It works. But it only works if you actually spend only what you can afford. So diligence works. Personally, I think that's insulting. And I think there should be a hard cap for the amount that a person, after owing a certain amount, should be forced to pay in order to repay a debt of that type. It absolutely should not be capable of becoming the gigantic amounts compared to what you actually asked for. The credit just should not continue to build up and have to be paid for. Like if you pay even double the interest or triple the interest, you're still ending up paying like very large amounts. And then you still have to pay all of that. And it's like, what if instead you already have it? If you have a lease system, then as you're paying it, you can really only end up paying a certain multiple of the amount that is on the tin. And then, yeah, that's what happened. If it was an emergency or whatever else, that works in a pinch. And then it's done and you don't have to think about it again. I genuinely think if more people have all these companies that are able to lend out the amount and then you don't have to worry about interest rates, then people are just going to do that, right? Obviously, the system does have, for credit systems, it's usually you have to pay and you have to pay extra on top immediately. And if I was smart, if I really wanted to, I could force people to pay an extreme amount for what they have forced me to pay. Like, I don't want to get into it, but it's not good how much people owe and aren't paying, but they could, for whatever reason, and things. It would just be altogether better if they just paid what they owe. Instead of waiting. But that's the thing. I'm not a credit system. Shouldn't really get into this. I was gonna say 8383, but it's 8393, and that screwed me up. Like 67 doesn't help because, oh, here's a 1 in the column, so that's good. Here's another 1. I genuinely think that if people leased stuff better, if that was a system in place, then it would make it a lot easier to pay it off. People wouldn't be allowed to gouge others. You'd still, like, have to pay, but you'd not have to pay, like, an extreme amount for whatever. I feel like that's lost on people. If 7 cannot, 7 must. So 7 cannot. That's a lot of noise gone. That is very interesting setup, where 7 is just very extremely prominent and understood. Like, impossible to not understand. Ridiculous. Like, that's too much information. How do they expect me to have to guess about this? Hmm. Looking around one way or another, I can't see anything. Terrible. If 4 must, 4 cannot. 4 cannot, 4 cannot. If 4 must, 4 is. 6. Obviously 9. 6, 9, 6. Good little hint there. Gave me a lot of information. Now what? 431373137. 4738313 836387. Like, it literally took me forever to find that 4 cannot nonsense. All others 4 alternate except for here. That is a 4. So that's something. Discovery is still equal everywhere. Interesting how it works that way. It literally should be illegal for creditors to take more than, for example, 300%. You should be able to cut it off at some point and say, you know what, no, that's enough. Put a stop to that nonsense. Oh, what is the other patterns? Ah, 8-6. I just noticed 8686 equals not 8. Well, that's something. Force is 8. 7. 4. Nice. Phew, that was obvious. Oh, there's a 1, 3, 4, 3. Nice. Remainder 4. Nine two nine two equals not 9, not 2. 6 1. 8 6. 8 1. 7 1. 5 9. 3 5 9 3. 2 8 5 2 7 7 9 2 6 4 3 9 2 5 7 9 3 6 8 6 4. Not bad. If you think credit cards need to be enforced to lease instead, leave a comment. I would love to hear your opinion about this. But also, the same idea with Game Pass games. This is a very different topic than credit cards, obviously, where we're gonna play some pips. So, the idea in... Well, this seems easy enough. Actually, it's not easy. Either way, the 5s need to be in an equal somewhere, and then the other one has to be like that or something, where these are equal. And then one of them's a 0, the other one's 11. How do you even get 11? Clearly, in order to get 11, you need 5, and that doesn't work. Because it removes one of the doubles. The only way something like that can work... 2, 3... What in the shitballs? Well, you need 11, right? So, that's mostly this and that, which isn't the best configuration. But whatever. And then you need to make 9 out of the rest of that. So there's double 2, double 3, double 0. So any of those configurations, as long as you have the 9, you got it. So I would say putting the 3 in the side is making the most sense. Because otherwise you have to... Well, it's the 3 or the 5, one or the other. And then after that, It's like 3-2, 3-2, but it probably isn't that. Because then it would have to be this, and it's almost there. It's like, no. So we failed. Which one? The 9 is failed. Okay, so if I switch it over to having 3, 3, and 3, that makes 9. So that actually makes more sense, you know? Yay! So yeah, if you have I should have talked about the thing. If you have Game Pass, right, and if you spend it on whatever game, and if like say you only play Minecraft for some reason, then if you already give enough in the Game Pass in order to potentially just buy the game straight up, then you shouldn't have to. Well, obviously, that's not right. And you need a. Wait, you need S equal 4, so that means that configuration doesn't work. It has to be less than 3. That works. 4. The one is 6. Less than 7. 4. Well, this is 4. 6 and 2. What the? Oh, this is less than 7. Zero can't be the case. It has to be 6 and 2, right? Or it's 4 and 4. 6 and 0. Oh, I don't care. But yeah, that's my ideas. If you pay, let's just look at this for a second. Um, less than 0 or greater than 0. So 0 and 1. Obviously, that has to go there. This has to equal 0, so that's kind of forced. And then it depends on which configuration there is, because there's like 2 chances of it being like it's this or it's a different configuration. Whereas this one also equals 0, so it could be that, or it could be the 3-0, and then it could be the 4-0. One of them has to be that, and then it's about whatever the other configurations are. And I don't really care, although I could do it. Not in the mood. I am tired. But yeah, that's the idea of leasing. If you spend enough to be able to own it outright a multiple of times, like, I understand if you're going to play Game Pass, then if you get a bunch of games like Game Pass and then you put the time in, spending it, playing all sorts of games, what you could have instead of like you just for the whatever games you actually do play, Those games get tokens for that month for Game Pass, and after a certain amount of time or whatever token something else based on gameplay averages or some way of balancing it. Let's say the Game Pass is like spending a certain amount of money towards the Game Pass itself, and the rest of the money is divided up between all the games that you play. Simple system. So, based off of gameplay time, quality of the game, or whatever else, you end up, as you spend money for whatever game. I don't want to do Wordle. As you spend money on the games, right? It would be like putting in payments towards the thing. Hey, the D is in the right place. Inside the bride somewhere. That's funny. It's also near the end, so it must be not exactly at the end, but never mind. So, what other words can we have a D in that position? Well, let's get some more letters. Some more vowels, specifically. We know we don't have an I anywhere. It's like, you want the most out of it, but whatever. We got like, okay, so what if it's not today, but it could be like TO something DY, but it's not today, right? Today just doesn't work. Oh my god. Toady? Really? What the hell is Toady? Yeah, I could have gotten in one less if I didn't put the bad answer of today. Whatever. Oh, I also forgot I could be playing this on Discord. Wordle is a broken game. Anyway, whatever. I don't know. It was 53 degrees outside and 78 degrees inside. Someone want to explain that, because I'm pretty sure free energy exists and we're not efficient enough to use the basic systems that we have to gain power like we're supposed to. Like a 20-degree temperature difference, especially when one of them is below freezing or whatever. I know it's not. That's not the point. Like, when it's pretty damn cold, it should you should be able to gain power out of